Good afternoon and welcome to What's in it for Africa. Do you have any questions? Yes.
Would you speak about energy?
Definitely.
What about economics?
Yes, for sure.
What about climate change?
Definitely.
Yes, but what's in it for Africa?
Well, you'll find out. Hello and welcome to What's in it for Africa, the EU-Africa update show. My name is Uzo Madu and over the next few minutes I'm going to give you a quick rundown of the key policy issues making waves here in the EU capital in Brussels. So let's get started with a rundown of what's been going on in October and a bit of September since we were away. The European Commission, which is the organisation responsible for proposing new legislation, laid out its work programme for 2016 last month. One of the key areas was to introduce a new migration policy. Two parts of this are the first one, which is an EU list of safe countries of origin, and the second, a permanent relocation scheme. Starting with the permanent relocation scheme, we know that we've seen emergency relocation schemes over the year. One for 40,000 people coming from Italy and Greece, and also another one in September for 120,000 people from Italy, Greece and Hungary. Now the Commission proposes a permanent relocation scheme, which would mean that set criteria would be laid out in order to allocate refugees and migrants to certain European countries when an application is made in another European country. Now, the citizens that are set to benefit most from this new relocation scheme are those coming from Syria, Eritrea and Iraq. Now, the common EU list of safe countries of origins basically allows asylum applications to be fast-tracked for citizens of these countries on this safe list. But it would also mean a process which is quicker in returning them to their country of origin if their application is rejected. Now, this legislation was actually proposed in September, and the countries on the proposed list include Albania, Bosnia, Montenegro, Serbia and Turkey, amongst others. But as for now, there are no African countries seen on the list. The EU presented its new Trade for All strategy in October. It indicates that it would like to redefine its relationship with the African continent. Now, it sets out to do this by focusing on implementing a number of trade agreements with their African partners in order to remove and reduce restrictions on trade between the two continents. It also wants to make sure that these agreements are implemented properly and seeks to create new institutions in order to make sure this is done. And moving beyond these trade agreements, the strategy considers working with African partners to also make trading in services and investments easier between Europe and Africa. In regards to the development realm, the EU strategy also points to support efforts to make it easier for African countries to trade with one another. Now, as we know, regional integration is currently a major priority. Only 12% of Africa's total trading activity takes place within the African continent. Plus, the creation of a continental free trade area has been set for 2017, which promises to increase trade within the continent by a whopping 30%. And also in October, the future of the EU partnership with the African, Caribbean and Pacific group of states, otherwise known as the ACP, is open for public consultation. Now, to give you some background on where we currently stand, the partnership is governed by the Cotonou Agreement, which will expire in 2020. This agreement deals with development cooperation by giving aid to ACP countries, including financial support to reduce and adapt to the effects of climate change. It also deals with the tough stuff, economics and trade, setting out a deadline for trade advantages afforded to ACP countries to come to an end. Now, these trade advantages allow ACP countries to export some of their products to the EU without having to pay a tariff or a tax for doing so, and without having to eliminate tariffs or taxes on EU products coming into their own countries. Now, these advantages are due to be replaced by economic partnership agreements, which will see ACP states increasingly open up their markets by way of lowering and eventually eliminating tariff and taxes on EU products coming into their countries. And lastly, it gets political. The agreement also provides support for improving good governance in ACP countries. This consultation will be crucial in shaping the next agreement between the EU and ACP after 2020. The big question is, where should the emphasis lie? In trade, development, or good governance? And the even bigger question is whether a totally new path is necessary, one that could mean the end to the 40-year-old institution and separating them into an African, a Caribbean, and a Pacific group of states. To have your say, follow the link and fill in the consultation. You have until the 31st of December. You have been warned. So that's it for this month. Thank you for joining us on the EU-Africa Update Show this month. Join us in 2 weeks' time for the Inside the Issue on our YouTube channel. Join us on Twitter, subscribe to us on YouTube. Until then, my name is Uzo Madu for What's in It for Africa.